Hi, we're back again. I'm going to do several types of recording for this RUS4 episode on Ukraine in Bible prophecy because I'm not sure what's the best way to explain this. It's kind of a complicated topic because the scholars don't know anything about it, so I have to explain everything from scratch, and there's nobody else you can compare to. All right, so I have to just give you all the information, and then you have to use 1 John 1:9 even to listen to it, and then you have to go to God because I'm not a teacher. You cannot rely on me, but it's right for you to listen because this is something that the scholars don't know, and you can verify it in the Word of God. All right, if I couldn't do that myself, I wouldn't have, what do you want to call it? The justification for saying all this to you. All right? I am a witness, not a teacher. No woman is ever a teacher of the Word of God. But every woman, just like every man, child, whatever, is a witness to whatever portion of the Word that person is given. All right? I've been given the meter. No one else in Christendom right now has this except through me. I hate being alone in this. That's why I'm trying to, as it were, explain it so that you can see it for yourself, and then hopefully God will hire somebody with the right credentials to talk about it. And I'm dying now, so it's appropriate, you know what I'm saying, that God should hire somebody now. Enough of the introduction. Now I'm going to show you how do we know that Matthew 24:25, down here at verses 38 and 39. I'll just enlarge it so you can see it on screen. It's in Greek, but I'll explain it. How do we know that these two verses, 38 and 39, are talking about Ivan Kalita? Wouldn't God be talking about everybody? You know, this is prophecy. It's global. It affects everybody. Yeah, that's true. But he also targets, highlights certain persons or groups in every single word of the prophecy. Sometimes it's, if you've seen my series on Matthew 24, you'll notice that when we started it, the targeting was on Roman emperors. Okay? As the world and Christians moved around, because it's always tracking Christians, as the world moves around and the Christians move around, it goes to different parts of the world. Nobody is inferior because they're not mentioned. If anything, you should be glad if somebody's not mentioned. So far, the only complimentary mention of Christians has been England during the English Reformation. Now, you'll find all that in the Matthew 24 series. Okay? Now we're focusing on, well, how does it cover Ukraine? Because no matter what country you're in, these words really do apply to your country at different points. If you're in China, it's all applicable to China. But you have to really know Chinese history very well, and you have to understand the Greek style of literature to see how and what it's targeting in China. All right? But even so, like we got, 192 countries now? Okay? There are certain countries that are highlighted on any given day, and the others are not mentioned. Okay? That doesn't mean that they're not important. It doesn't mean that the words are not applicable. It means that there's somebody being highlighted that year. Okay? Because this is one syllable per year. All right, so now we're going to answer the question, how do I know that this one syllable per year is highlighting above all the other countries in the section? How do I know it's highlighting Ukraine? And I went to the wrong page. Let's go back to where we're supposed to be. Go away, page marker. I can't stand Soto. They always make the navigation crappy. And you can't really edit with their stuff because they don't really give you a way to save it. Okay, so here we go. 38 and 39. I'm telling you, but I haven't proved it yet, that 38 and 39 primarily first is targeting Ivan Kalita as it were the poster boy of the entire period, okay, that it maps. And that period is starting in the fourth clause of verse 38, which says, Acre, heis, hemeras, eselten, no, eis, ten, kiboton, in my terrible Greek. Okay? That means until the days Noah got in the boat. In other words, it's talking about everybody just above that line. Everybody's whining and dining and marrying and giving in marriage, having a good old time, a normal life, just like we were before the coronavirus. Well, semi-normal. If you take Trump away and go back before Trump and before the stupid Seven Mountains people, we were having a normal life. They wrecked it. Okay? We didn't know that they were there. We didn't hear from them. Okay? And then all of a sudden they're front and center. That's kind of what Christ is talking about here. Okay? So that fourth line in Matthew 24:38, here on screen, I'll enlarge it. Okay? You see AXRI in the lower left corner? That means until. You pronounce it Acre. Heis, hemeras, eiselten, no, eis, ten, kiboton. All right? Until the days when Noah got in a boat. Literally means came into. All right? So they were having a good old normal life until, in other words, there was no warning as far as they were concerned. The 120 years of migrating animals to his ark, they just laughed at that. They laughed it off. As far as they were concerned, him building the ark didn't mean anything. It was not a sign to them, even though it was. And the 120 years of migrating animals didn't mean anything to them either. Until the day he got in the boat. Because no clouds, no rain, abnormal amount of nothing started until the day he got in the boat. So for 120 years, he spent, hewing the cypress wood, making the pitch, and all that stuff to the specifications God said. And people started looking at him during the 120 years, and they started laughing, just like atheists laugh at us Christians today. Okay? Only back then, Noah was a mature believer. He wasn't an idiot like we Christians typically are. So people didn't really have justification for laughing at him. All right? They were laughing for 120 frickin' years. He built a boat that's big enough to take, half the human race, or at least 1/10 of the human race. Didn't have to be the animals. The people could have lived off the fish in the ocean. But instead of doing that, they laughed. So the animals that migrated during all that time were smarter than the humans. Okay? So they're just marrying and giving in marriage until, again, we read the sentence, Acri tes hemeras eselten no es ton kiboton. Ten kiboton. Until the day Noah got in the boat. There was no, as far as they were concerned, there was no evidence of God, no evidence that the judgment supposedly of God that Noah had to announce for 120 years. As far as they were concerned, it was all bupkis. It was all a big laugh. All right? That period, okay, that fourth clause, 38, we'll call it 38D. That's the period from when our boy Ivan Kalita is born until his alleged father dies. At Kiboton, at the end of this phrase, his father dies. Okay, that's your first piece of evidence that it's about Ivan Kalita, because that's really specific. It's starting when he's born, and it's ending. Crap. Excuse me. It's ending at the word kiboton. Go away. Oh, I hate this. I got to get something other than Soto, because it's just like unbelievably hard to manage. It keeps putting up these stupid little things in the lower left-hand corner, making it really hard for you to navigate, and interferes with your moving stuff. Okay, there we go. So to kiboton in the third from the bottom, rightmost corner word looks like a K, I, B, omega, T, omicron, N. Kiboton. Okay, it's saying kiboton, but that's wrong. You never stress Greek on the last syllable. That's a pasting error for the Greek letters. Okay, kiboton is how you should pronounce it. All right, so until the day that Noah got in the boat. So until the day that Noah got in the boat characterizes from when Ivan Kalita is born until the day his alleged father, Daniel, dies. And you say, well, yeah, but how do you know that that's the way that it should parse? Because when you look at the years that this text covers, those are the years it covers. That's pretty apt. Okay? Because when Daniel dies, all hell breaks loose for Ukraine. I haven't gotten to that part yet. But that's what happens. The second piece of information that makes it obvious, not yet conclusive, just like, oh, I need to work on this, is the clause in the beginning of 39 where it says, Kai uk egnosan eus elten ho cataclysmos kai erin apantas. Okay? Which, roughly translated, if I could get rid of the stupid Xodo thing, says, and they didn't even know, meaning the people who were laughing at Noah. And they didn't even know until the cataclysm, the flood, came upon them. The kai there is assensive. It means even. It's like in fact. It's you could call it emphatic or assensive, which means that they didn't even know until the flood hit them. Okay? So in spite of all the Noah building for 120 years, in spite of the 120 years of migration, they were laughing their head off because he's building this boat on dry land and there's no water for miles around. He was a laughing stock for 120 years. So when he gets in the boat, there's no indication of bad weather until he gets in the boat. And even once he gets in the boat and once the rain starts, they still didn't believe it until the flood literally, if I could just get the Odo to stop this. Damn, this is a bad program. Oh, I gotta find myself another PDF viewer. It used to be good, but they've, like everybody else, they wreck it with all their so-called improvements. Okay? Okay, back to 39A. And they didn't even know until the flood, and this is Eden Apantas. Eden Apantas means took them all away. In other words, they're busy laughing their head off, and the rain starts. I mean, think about this. Close your eyes and just think about this. They're laughing at Noah. He gets in the boat. As far as they're concerned, it's still dry land. And then a cloud appears and a little rain starts. And they're still laughing. Oh, there's your rain. Only it's one cloud and a few drops. Kind of like the coronavirus. Then another cloud. Ha, 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 ha. More clouds, more rain. Ha, ha, ha. And more clouds. and more rain and more clouds and more rain. And then they're starting to get drenched, and they're still so busy laughing because they're not believing what's happening to them. Until it's like a flood up to their neck. And when you got that much water, then it starts to act like an ocean, and it literally carries you off. Okay? So they didn't believe it until it rose to the level of a flood and carried them away. That was when they believed it. Now, of course, the question you could ask is, did they believe in God at that point and get saved? Probably. Wouldn't you? Oh my God, I was wrong. I'm wrong, God. I'm wrong, God. Save me. Well, it's too late to save you physically, but it's not too late to save you for eternity. In other words, you won't believe it until you get hit. That's the way it's going to be with the coronavirus too. A lot of the people who are behind Trump, they will not believe how much they have been duped, how much they have refused to listen to the truth until they get hit. And you're saying, well, but Brainout, you're applying this to today, not to Ivan Kalita. Well, but that's the point of the prophecy, is that it's always giving you parallels in history. Okay? This is technically speaking text about the flood. But if you go back to verse 38, this is what it's going to be like in the last days. Okay, but what are the last days? Well, there are different kinds of last days. That's where the parallelism comes in. The last days of your life, the last days before judgment hits you, the last days of somebody else's life, the last day when judgment hits them, the last days of a nation's life, the last day of the Republican Party, because that's coming. The last days of Trump. You see, there are lots of people in groups, and for somebody, it's always getting up onto the last days. What is really sad about Christians is when they hear of the words the last days, they're solely thinking about the last 7 years of history. Okay? That the Bible says there really are going to be a last 7 years of history as we know it. Okay, before Christ returns. That's true. But there are other parallels in history long before that. And that's what Christ is explaining here. The other parallels. Okay, they're drinking and eating and marrying and giving in marriage until the day that Noah got in the boat. Okay, so what's the equivalent now to Noah getting in the boat? Well, I think you could argue the coronavirus. Okay, we're seeing the first few droplets of cases, which are very clearly linked to China. Okay, because everybody who got it in the United States got it through contact with somebody who had contact with somebody from China. That is not to blame China. All right? That is just tracing the pathogen. Okay? And the pathogen tends to come from China. Not because China's bad, but because of the way the weather works and because of the way animals migrate and because of the way disease migrates. Disease has always migrated that way. Disease in Europe, okay, has always come from China. Always. That's not the only place it comes from, but it has always come from China for the last 2,000 years. Okay, that's not to blame China. China didn't invent its, landscape. You see what I'm saying? This is coming from God. So just understand that what we're going through is coming from God. Just as he's explaining now. Nobody believed it when the flood came. Noah's sitting there on the Anatolian plateau building a boat for 120 years. They didn't believe anything until, even when the rain came, until it was up to their necks and they're drowning. Only once the flood, that means it has to be like up to their necks and carrying them away because of the volume of water. Until the flood carried them away, they didn't believe it. That's the way we are. Okay? But, as I started to say at the beginning, and I keep getting sidetracked, this whole period until the days that Noah got in the boat is the childhood of Ivan Kalita. And then the next phrase, stupid program is always making me have to stop. Until it's verse 39, lower left-hand corner. And they didn't even know till the flood hit them. All right. So at Kiboton, that's the death of the guy, Ivan Kalita's supposed dad. It's not really his dad. We'll get into that. Okay. The second clause that covers his life, and that's again why we know it's Ivan Kalita, is that when his dad dies, the next clause, verse 39a, see, 39a. Here's 39, where it says Kai, Uk, right next to the 39. All right. That we're calling 39a. That whole clause to apantas at the end. Apantas. It's not accented on the last syllable. It's the second to last syllable. That's a Greek pasting error. Okay. Until they carried them all away. That carried them all away is 1322, when our boy Kalita starts to rule in his own name. And it's like, whoa. So it's benchmarking the clauses, and you have to break it by clause because that's how Greek poetry works. They create clauses, okay? And this is in Greek, so you have to follow Greek literature rules, okay? It's Hebrew meter, but it's Greek literature written to Greeks in Greek, and they're expecting clauses, all right? So you parse the words into clauses. They didn't use verse numbers like we do. We invented that in the 1100s at the College of Paris. Okay, so, but for the Greek reader, the Greek is going to break it at the clause. Ugh, stupid damn program. God, I've got to find somebody else. I've got to find another PDF reader. This has just got the worst navigation possible. All right. The Greeks are going to expect to have the text broken in clauses. So apantas is equivalent to 1322. See? If you can look at the lower left-hand corner. See that 1292? You always have to add 30. That's 1322 AD. So that's when our boy, Ivan himself, starts to rule in his own name. He's no longer under regents. So you'll notice the first break is when his alleged father dies at Kiboton. The second break is at Apantas, when he starts to rule in his own name. So it's pretty much targeting him from birth to his, these are milestones in a person's life. From birth until your supposed parent's death, and then from their death, you're now under regents. You're technically the ruler of the duchy. And then the next break point would be, just like in the text, only this time it's when he starts ruling in his own name, 1322. So those are two really big pieces of evidence that yes, it's about Ivan Kalita, because look how specific it is. All right? Then your third clause, hutas, este, kai, you have to count that kai. It's in a variant, but you have to count it. He, parousia, this is the number one reason why we know it applies to Kalita. He parousia tu huio tu anthropo. Okay, that's highlighted in yellow and green. All right, this is the number one reason why we know it applies to Ukraine. Okay, and especially here to Kalita. At the end of this, okay, see how it says, he parousia tu huio tu anthropo. All right, at anthropo, that's when he dies. So it is literally mapping his personal life from birth to alleged father's death, to his regency, to his own ruling in his own name, and then to his death, marked with, go away, Xolo, he parousia Tu huioto anthropo, right there highlighted in yellow. Now that's your number one reason why we know this applies to Ukraine and to Ivan Kalita. And I'll cover more of that in the next increment. Hopefully I'll stop being so angry with this stupid program. How do I turn it off?